So I'm looking at the one thing I wanted to check was our bracket.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's so funny because I'm in two brackets. So I
hmm
checked both of them back and forth. But yeah, all right, cool. So I wanted to confirm that I'm still in last place for the lack of genius bracket. So that's good.
And I am royally screwed, so
Yeah, your pick for champion, which was what
I
university? Indiana, right?
IU. Yeah.
Yeah, IU, Indiana University.
First game.
Yeah, they were upset, right? Because they were like a 4 seed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they lost to a 12 seed.
Yeah.
Not
Yep.
exactly the happiest about that, but I'm
Yeah,
still doing
not just for
relatively well.
I was gonna say you're in fourth place. That's the funny thing about these brackets is that your champion can lose, but you can still get points because of all
hmm
the other picks. It's just once you
Yeah.
get down to the final two, final four, final whatever, you're screwed.
Right.
Um, I admittedly, for the lack of genius one, I definitely went a little wild, and so I
hmm
I'm not surprised. I'm in I'm in seventh. I'm not trying to use that as an excuse because, quite frankly, sometimes I think you need to get a little bit wild with these two. So I was hoping that my wildness would pay off, and then it didn't.
Right.
My my brother's girlfriend Brooke is tied for first with who's Matt Caldwell? I looked him up.
He's a brother-in-law
Yeah,
of
is that
mine.
M's brother?
No, it's
Or no, he's
her sister's husband.
her sister's husband. Got it.
Yep.
Got it. Wait, M's sister's husband. Got it. Okay, I
Yeah.
follow. I quickly glanced at an Instagram or something, and I saw Emily, and I was kind of like, okay, it's probably a brother, but I was
Yeah.
close. I was
Yeah.
okay. I got
Brother-in-law. Yeah.
it. Yeah. So they're in first right now, but that could all change. I'm
It could.
in I'm in fourth place in my family bracket. Um, there's 13 of us, and I'm in fourth, which is actually technically there's three people tied for first, so I'm kind of like in second place. But I chose Baylor, and they got eliminated early. What's the word? Uh,
Knocked out.
Upset. Yeah, upset
Yeah.
though because they got beat by a lesser competitor, quote unquote.
hmm
So it's not looking good for our hero. But we'll see. I do love. I actually really like doing a bracket. I never did in the
hmm
past, but I really like it now because it gets me more into the tournament.
Yeah.
and and to be honest, the tournament it's some of the best basketball you're gonna watch because it's so different
Yeah.
than the NBA. It comes down to buzzer beaters. It's the most exciting like last minute or two of sports, and so
hmm
I be girl. So, anyways,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and this year is the first time I think in quite a while that's the Final Four is not being held in Indy.
Oh, is that right? Wow, where's it being
Yeah.
held?
Um,
Isn't that
not
usually
sure.
Is that usually that's usually the host site, huh? But it's not like a permanent thing.
Well, I mean, it was for a really long time because I mean, you've also got like the NCAA, but like at least Basketball Hall of Fame, I think, is in Indy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, and it's Indiana. We're you know known for basketball,
Oh, it's
but
gonna be in Vegas, I think.
yeah,
Caesar Super. Oh no, Caesar Superdome. That's New Orleans. Is that? Oh, that's a Superdome. That's where the Saints play. Oh my gosh.
yeah. But I mean, I know. I think there was some politics involved as to why the NCAA moved
I'm
for a
sure
few
there
years.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, um, having to do with Indiana governor, I think,
Oh, like okay, so
or
kind of
with
like
some of the
how.
laws, with some of the laws that were being put in.
Yeah. That's
I
it.
could be wrong on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was like the MLB All Star Game was supposed to be in Atlanta, but they had controversial laws, so the MLB
Yeah.
decided to pull out. Which is such an interesting thing because like it's interesting when you're on the side of the like I was on MLB's side politically, so I
hmm
was like, yeah, good move, but I also am kind of like, eh, do we let politics? I guess why that's why 22 is so tricky because do we let politics, determine um, things like that. But
Right.
where do you draw the line between politics and just human the well-being of humans? You
Right.
know, that's I think where the lines get blurred. So, anyways, I don't we don't need to get into a
Yeah.
big topic on that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, and speaking of politics in Georgia, I'm a fan of Star Trek. Em watches Star Trek with me,
Uh huh.
and the season finale of Discovery just aired like came out on Thursday, and um, this is at this point way out into the future because there was time travel that happened in a previous season and whatnot, and there's this federation of all the planets that Earth was a part of, but then in this future in Discovery, Earth is its own separate thing, and so they have a president of the United Earth, and
Oh,
so the president gets referred to, but then at the very end, and I guess this is a spoiler for anyone that watches Discovery, which I don't know how many people that is that listen to the podcast, but this shuttle lands and out walks Stacey Abrams, who is the Democrat running for governor of Georgia, and she's
whoa,
playing the president of United Earth, and I'm like,
interesting.
wait a minute, that's pretty cool.
Wow, they tied in real life sort of
Hmm.
into.
Yeah,
That's pretty fascinating. Wow, her last name is Abrams too.
yeah,
That's funny because
Abrams.
that
Yeah.
makes me think of JJ. No, JJ never did. JJ do any of the Star Treks? He only did the Star
Yeah, he
Wars.
did the remakes that came out
Okay,
in the early 2000s,
I thought so. Yeah,
which aren't bad movies. They're
uh-huh.
pretty fun movies to watch. Decent Star Trek, but too many lens flares.
Okay, yeah, a little too
But at the
fancy.
same time, I have that's probably the reason why we have all these Star Trek shows now too. So
Yeah, sure, you're right. Yep, it's like almost like making up for. Hey, what happened to my Quentin Tarantino quiz? Oh, I spelled it wrong. Tarantino. I actually spelled Quentin Tarantino wrong multiple times in my quiz initially. And every
yeah,
time I typed it, I was like, it doesn't look right. Well, but I'm pretty sure that's right because I would spell it Tarantino. It's
right.
Tarantino. Tarantino, not Tarantino. Even though it's pronounced Tarant, you would say it Tarantino. So yes, I made that mistake several times. I was like, oh, I already got docked points for misspelling my own quiz person.
But no, Rammstein came out with a new song, a new video. So that's why
Oh,
I was
really?
watching videos. Yeah,
And then that took you down a rabbit hole of watching a bunch.
yeah. I mean, I only got through one or two. Like, if you've never actually watched a Rammstein music video, you should. Like, it's full fledged, like a little tiny movie.
Yeah, it's a whole experience, huh?
Oh yeah.
I've seen a rock video. Then I should watch one. Um, I think of my brother when I think of Rammstein, just because he's heavy metal, and then especially into like kind of obscure metal like this. Is
I
that a
wouldn't
fair
say Rammstein's.
classification?
I wouldn't say obscure. No, they're too big. One of my friends and like they were for 2020. They were scheduled to do a stadium tour of the U.S.
Uh huh.
Like, and their shows require stadiums, like open
Yeah.
top stadiums. Like, because I was really bummed that like they wouldn't come to Indy, but Indy has a retractable roof, but it's not an open top per se. Like,
Oh,
they've got like 30-foot towers that then have fire that come out of the top. Like, it's
yeah. I've seen
massive.
images of that. Yeah, there's like wings. I think that's almost more what I meant by obscure. Like they're
They
not
don't
so
come
much.
to the U.S. very often. Yeah.
Well, not so much in their music style, but in their appearance and in their stage. Like I'm seeing a picture of them, and there's a bunch of like creepy looking babies in the background, and like they really are about the visual art aspect of it as much as
Well, it's a
as
very
much as
German art
yeah.
style.
There you go. Yep. I asked my brother if he'd want to come on and quiz us about metal. He did not sound all that interested. Not he sound like annoyed by the question. He just kind of like,
Right.
it's not really his thing. But maybe one of these days, maybe one of these days
I
I'll
mean,
twist his
I've got
arm.
some friends that could probably quiz us on metal as well. So,
Cool.
which I wouldn't like. Yes, I enjoy Rammstein, but I don't actually listen to a lot of metal,
Uh-huh, yeah.
so
Yeah,
I
I don't
probably
really
wouldn't do
either.
that good.
Yeah, I would it would depend on the person. Like if my brother quizzed me, I think I'd do good because I know his brand of metal. But
Right.
I say was like he still is into the Megadeth, the Iron Maidens, the Metallicas.
Hmm.
Those were at least what for him. Much the same for me as like the Aquabats are my favorite ska.
Right.
A lot of ska bands that I love.
Yeah.
So I
I
don't
mean,
know. Yeah,
I
maybe.
think I partially only like Rammstein because of the Matrix. Like that's what made me
Oh,
know about them is Du Hast. Like,
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. That's their one. That's their not their one, but that's their huge hit that everyone would know
yeah,
if they do Hast. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
no, they're very subversive. I will say.
Subversive. There's a good word,
Hmm.
as
Like,
opposed to. Um, I was
I
gonna
mean,
pick.
they're pushing cultural norms. I suppose. I mean, in
Yeah.
Germany, things are very open and progressive. I mean, they had to be after what happened in the early 1900s, right? Um, but like a lot of their stuff doesn't fly here because we're not that progressive,
Yep.
and so it kind of pushes, makes you feel uncomfortable a little bit, and potentially, and I
Yep.
think that's maybe what, yeah, but
I would say, and it's interesting because their music, but again, that's why their visual is so.
hmm
Because like I think about that with movies. I bet there are a lot of movies that a lot of us Westerners haven't seen because we're uncomfortable with things that push the boundaries that much,
right,
and we're probably missing out on a lot of art and culture as a result.
yeah,
Um,
but
yeah, yeah, man.
yeah, if you
Um,
haven't watched a Rammstein video, go do it. Even though it's in German, you might still enjoy it. It's just not for kids.
and you might be speaking German by the end of it. Maybe,
Who
maybe you'll
knows?
learn. Maybe you'll learn a new language. Maybe it'll
Yeah,
inspire you to get on Rosetta Stone. Is Rosetta Stone still a thing to
it
learn
is, but
languages?
Duolingo's the free thing.
Mm. That's probably why I haven't heard Rosetta Stone's name in quite a while. They're probably like they're the
Yeah,
pricey thing.
yeah.
Have I shown you this sticker? I think I have. Can you read what it says? It's backward. It says "Feel the rhythm," and it's the four Jamaican bobsledders in the bathtub
I see
practicing.
that now.
Yeah,
It's not backwards to me. It's only backwards to you.
okay. I wondered. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
wondered.
flipped the video.
Yeah, Brooke got that for me, my brother's girlfriend,
Nice.
and oh my gosh, I love it so much. It like sums up everything I love about, and they're wearing the fun colors, and
Hmm.
yeah, I love. It's on my water bottle for those that aren't watching on the stream and listening. It's a sticker on my water bottle I'm talking about. Um, man, I've been sick all weekend. Like literally, this is the most alive. I am so happy to be doing this right now, and not
Yeah.
just doing it, but feeling good because the last 48 hours have just been bed, couch, bed, couch, bed, couch. I couldn't do anything. I just body aches, headaches, tired, cough, sore throat,
Hmm.
and I called out of one job, and I'm so glad I did. It's hard for me to call out of work, but
Right.
I needed it, and I just like, whoo! And it was nice too because I was able to watch the one of the Quentin Tarantino movies that I hadn't seen yet, Jackie
Hmm.
Brown. So I'll talk about that on the podcast, obviously. But it gave me time to watch some stuff and just slow down, which is hard for us to do, and definitely for me, it's hard for me to just stop and slow down. So it was kind of, but it does suck because this is 2 weekends in a row I was sick. I haven't been
Right.
sick in a couple years, and all of a sudden mask mandates are gone, and I go to a Laker game and I get sick twice in a row. It's just like it's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways, I'm grateful to be sitting here. But if I do sound a little groggy, I also put my quiz together in kind of a sick state, so I hope I did it right. We'll see what happens.
Well, did you have a good St. Patrick's Day though,
mm,
or is that part of the sick time?
that was Thursday. I know I was able to go for a walk that day, so I was feeling okay. I'm trying to think if I did anything that day. I think Yeah, I don't think I did anything, but yeah, I do have a story that I'll tell on in the tidy up section. I mean,
Cool.
it's nothing too crazy, but it was pretty funny that it came up after something that I learned from my own quiz. I was like, "Oh, I'm able to apply this in real life right now." Yeah. So I didn't end up doing any. I didn't even have any alcohol. Oh, I know what happened. I know what. Yeah. Again, nothing. But I did work an overnight that night, so I started work at 8 p.m. and worked till 5 a.m. And my coworker texted me before I came in and said, our supervisor said Happy St. Patrick's Day. There's beer in the fridge, and something like something along the lines of like, I'm not going to notice if they're missing, basically saying like, I brought this for you guys. Like, I trust you enough to have a beer on the job on St. Patrick's Day. If you, yeah, I didn't have any. I don't know if anybody did,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, it was a nice gesture. I thought that was very nice.
Cool.
Did you do anything on St. Patty's?
Um, I baked some corned beef and ate
Oh,
that with chips. So I had corned beef and potatoes for lunch.
there you go. Okay. Chips meaning actual, wait, chips meaning French fries?
No, potato chips.
Oh, okay, that's what I was gonna say. So, but it was potatoes.
Yeah.
It's still you got your potatoes. I was like, do you speak British? Do you call French fries chips?
No, no.
Oh, that's
Only when I'm
funny.
over there.
Only when you're over there. Yeah, that's good. At least you were. Yeah, I would count that 100%. You were able to find some way to be thematically in.
Yeah.
I was able to. The same coworker who texted me. We talked at work that night, and I was able to educate her on why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day. She was very shocked.
Hmm.
Um,
That's cool.
So, but it was. I'm really glad we did that episode, and I
Hmm.
haven't. I know I haven't received any emails. I think we did a pretty decent job of being
I
fair
think
and
so.
balanced and like
Yeah.
not over the top about diminishing anything. But it gave me an opportunity with my coworker to tell her about this is why we celebrate. But the conclusion that we came to, and that I really agree with, is it's sort of celebrating the culture of Irish people now, and that
Right.
I don't have any problem with that. I don't know. I like that I now have a stance on St. Patrick's Day that I can stand behind because of your knowledge,
Good.
John.
And
So
this is me admitting that I hadn't actually looked at the chat from our Facebook feed yet until just now.
oh
But Uncle Dale says he's glad you're feeling better, Kevin.
oh,
So,
thanks, Uncle Dale. You and me in last place together in that bracket. That means that means a lot. I think it's
and
me.
they're tuning in from the sailing vessel. Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. Is that what it's called? Absolutely.
Hmm.
That's a fantastic name for a vessel. That is.
It's, if memory serves, absolutely was kind of the, I think is what Nikki said when he asked her to marry her or marry him.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, my heart.
So
It's
they,
so
they
cool.
they've like that was kind of the theme for the wedding and stuff was absolutely, and so when they bought the boat,
Wow.
they called it absolutely.
Absolutely is a very it's a solid word. It's a full word.
Hmm.
I don't know how to
It
give it the
is.
justice it deserves, but there's nothing more solid than absolutely. Oh my gosh, that warms my heart. I love that. When are they going to come on and quiz us on what on sailing, right? Is that what we're
Yeah. I think we just need to talk to him.
we should make that happen.
Schedule that.
We've been talking about that for a while. Uncle Dale has paid his
A-
dues.
and I got confirmation that and I was correct, and he said best word ever.
It is, yeah. That's solid. That's solid. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna steal that, and I'm not gonna give them credit. I'm gonna say like I came up with that. When I eventually start dating someone, and then get, I guess they're gonna have to propose to me, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to say absolutely, and then I'm gonna have to get a vessel and put absolutely on it. So there are a lot of steps here to make this happen, but it will. I will
But
totally
there is.
plagiarize it.
But at the same time, I don't know if you can have two boats both called absolutely
Oh, interesting.
because you
Yes,
have to register
yes.
your boat, right?
Yeah.
So
I see Jacob poking around in the background. It was almost like a cartoon, like whoop, like
no, I see him
there he
now.
is.
Is it itchy? Did you hit it on something?
Poison ivy.
No, I don't think so. He hasn't been outside.
Chupacabra bite.
Show M. You okay? Okay. Why don't you go show M and see what she thinks? Because I'm not sure. That's okay. She was just doing that to keep the noise out.
You're such a good dad, man. I don't say that facetiously. You're a good dad. I always love
I
seeing you
try.
in dad mode. Yeah, it's very obvious how much you care and love for your now children.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. All right, shall we? Shall we do the deed?
I think so. Do you want to mention the brackets during tidy up as well, or?
Yeah, because it'll by the time that airs, it'll still be we'll be going
Yeah.
into weekend 2. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. Yep. Okay,
Cool.
sweet. All right, and then I think you asked first this week. Is that right? Or am I wrong?
Yes.
Could be wrong. Okay. Um, all right, let's see. Oh, I got to put this to live. It's always a little delayed when I do this. We should
Oh
keep
yeah,
a
I need to do that.
tally. We should keep a tally of how many times I've actually done the countdown, the 3, 2, 1, and it actually was right. Because I feel like every week it's a wait, nope. Okay, all right now. Um, okay, I'm gonna try it. You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast, in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast.
Howdy, John.
Hey, Kevin.
If you're a fan of movies, this might be the podcast for you. Those specifically the episode.
It is.
I don't know, man. I think we sometimes talk. About what it is that we really like about our podcast, and I like that we jump around from topic to topic, and we never stay too stagnant on one thing. But yeah, this one we're talking about our favorite directors, just to jump right off the bat with it. And I don't know about you, John. I don't consider myself a movie buff. Like I am definitely not the type of person who can quote movies. I'm definitely not the type that like thinks, "Oh, this is the greatest movie ever and you all have to like it," or like, I don't know. I don't put myself in that category. But I say that because like I'm approaching this quiz today as a fan of my director. Quentin Tarantino is the director. We're doing favorite directors. I'm doing Quentin Tarantino. I'm a fan of these movies. I'm a fan of his movies. I do some deep dives, but I'm not crazy deep dives. So that's the approach I'm coming from. What's your experience with movies, and who are you doing?
I mean, my experience with movies is I enjoy most types of movies. Not a huge fan of horror movies.
Oh yeah, we've
Um,
discussed this before. Yes.
yeah, but I mean, I'll even sit and watch a foreign movie if the theme is something I would enjoy, even if it's got subtitles. I'm not one that cares if there's subtitles or not. I can read and watch at the same time. Um,
Oh yeah, multitasking.
right,
It's true.
but yeah, I mean, there are movies that I can quote, maybe not line for line, but I can make movie references, but
Sure.
yeah, I enjoy movies. They're fun to watch. I hate going to the theater by myself. I
Uh-huh.
really think the theater is a communal thing.
Uh,
You go as at least with someone else for the experience and everything.
yeah.
Um, but I also enjoy watching movies at home by myself too. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
And
And
who are you doing today? What director are you doing?
Guy Ritchie. And
Yes.
and you said that that's kind of unfamiliar waters for you. I'll
Yes.
admit I'm not a big Tarantino fan.
Oh, okay. See, I was going to ask you, and so you're not a big
Well,
fan. Have you seen many Tarantino movies?
I've seen quite a few of them,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
I there's a couple that I enjoy, like Inglorious Bastards, which I enjoy that movie.
Uh-huh.
But I see why people enjoy his movies.
Yeah.
I'm I don't know. I'm just not
I
a big fan of it.
Yeah, I see. I think of Tarantino movies as very polarizing, in the sense that they're just very. I think that's why I like them, because
Hmm.
I like to see anything that's just different. For whatever reason, I'm like, this is
Right.
different than what I'm used to seeing on a big screen, and I like that. It just gives me a different experience. His movies. My own biggest critique of them is that sometimes their scenes are just long and drawn out, and there's so much dialogue, and there's the way I was thinking about it earlier is he isn't one to trim the fat, and I use that term sort of in like an editing term. Like even when I edit this podcast, we're taught in the editing world to trim the fat. You trim out the things you don't really need to push the
Hmm.
story forward. If it doesn't actually push the story forward, you don't need it, then you cut it out. Tarantino
Right.
leaves those things in, and he somehow makes it, in my opinion, he does that for the better. Like it allows things to marinate a little longer. And
Mhm.
so, anyways, that's literally just one aspect of why some people might not like Tarantino movies. But I get you not liking them. Why why you might not. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they're bad movies.
yeah,
I don't know. Sometimes they're too over the top, maybe.
yeah, that's true too. And in fact, that's another point that I guess I'll get into now. Is that like
Which, is kind of funny because you could consider Guy Ritchie movies to be sometimes over the top because they're a lot of them are very fast action, switch, views or even entire scenes like super quick. But I mean, I enjoy the humor in it. Like there's a lot of humor in his movies, and some of them are pretty deep and kind of make you think, but others are just fun. So I don't know.
well, I'll tell you how unprepared I am for this Guy Ritchie quiz. I'm sure that I've seen Guy Ritchie movies. I can't name a Guy Ritchie movie from right now. I couldn't tell you what a Guy Ritchie movie is.
Probably one of the biggest ones, and probably one that you've seen is he did the Sherlock Holmes movies.
Oh, I did not see them, but yes.
He also did The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which didn't do that well, but I thought it was a fun movie.
Okay, all right. No, I haven't seen that.
He did the live action Aladdin.
I saw that. There we go. It just took getting to Will Smith and Aladdin for me to see a Guy Ritchie movie. And that was a very interesting movie just because we all know, at least those of us who've seen Aladdin 100 times, the animated one, we've all seen that so many times that it was interesting to see it.
I've seen bits and pieces of the live action one, but I actually haven't seen the whole thing.
Gotcha.
So.
I remember being entertained. I remember being entertained when I left the theater, which is all I could ask for. Okay, all right. So I've seen a Guy Ritchie movie. The point I was going to say about Tarantino is that like I'm not the biggest fan. I wouldn't consider myself a fan of violence. I don't really like violent movies, I would say. Yet Tarantino's films have some of the most violent, gory, and like you said, John, over the top sort of action violent scenes that in movie history. And for me, I think the over the topness of it is what makes it more watchable for me because it almost makes it cartoon like. And ironically, in Kill Bill, have you seen Kill Bill? There's literally
I've seen parts of it.
Well, there's literally an animated segment that is crazy violent. It literally is a cartoon, so like there's something about that makes it more almost, I don't know if this is Tarantino's intent but like almost like a parody of violence. It's like, look at how ridiculous this is. And people are going to watch this and love this. And I'm one of them. And I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm less of a supporter of violence when I think that way. But yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Well, cool, man. Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to get into Tarantino. We're going to get into Guy Ritchie, but we're going to tidy up some things first. Yes? Here we go.
Tidy up before we go any further with the show. Tidy up before we go. Fix our mistakes tonight. I want to get it right. Tidy up.
All right, John, you helped us get an excellent, well, what I ended up dubbing the month before April Madness bracket, because we can say the word March Madness all we want. That's not illegal, but when we use it in a way that is giving out a prize or putting on an event, then we cannot use it. So that's why we couldn't call it, we couldn't use the word March Madness in our name. We're a small podcast. We never would have gotten in trouble for it. But yeah, we put together a nice little bracket, and as of this airing, we're going into the second weekend of where we're at. So where are we at in the standings on that?
So far, Brooke is in first place. Well, actually, we've got a tie for first between Brooke and Matt. They both have 33 points. And then Jeff, our wonderful logo designer, is in third. I'm in fourth. And then Shannon is fifth. Catherine is sixth. And then we've got a three-way tie for seventh with Uncle Dale, Emily, and you.
That's me, last place, baby. Me and Uncle Dale and Emily. And the ironic thing is, Uncle Dale was chatting us a little bit during the pre-show, which was nice. And then Emily sent me a text like 2 days ago because she was in first place, and she was like, "I am going to cherish this moment forever. It's not going to last long." So yeah, that's exciting. Thank you to everyone who signed up for our month before April Madness bracket. It's John, you picked IU, Indiana University, and they've already been eliminated. They were upset early, but and then I picked Gonzaga, which is the front runner, I think, in the tournament. So we'll see. But I don't anticipate a big comeback. And the winner, obviously, if John and I win, we are not included in this. The winner will get the first ever Lack of Genius T-shirt. So that's what we're doing, and we're hoping to do more fun things like this down the line. So if you didn't get in on this one, we will incorporate more things. And even though I have been negligent in terms of responding to an email about this, we do have merch on the way. So there will be opportunities to win and definitely buy merch down the line.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a tidy up from last week, other than I was really excited that I got to use one of my facts from the St. Patrick's Day episode. We learned in the St. Patrick's Day episode that the odds, do you remember the odds of finding a 4-leaf clover, John?
It was like 1 in 10,000 or something.
1 in
like
10,000, yes. And we also learned that it's technically a 1-leaf clover because they are leaflet. So it's a 4-leaflet clover, technically. So I was on a walk with my dogs and in my neighborhood, and there was a dad and his 2 young kids. They were probably like 7 and 10. Playing catch with their gloves. It was like, oh yeah, spring is here. This is awesome. And one of the probably 7-year-old comes up to me and he says, "You have the coolest mustache ever." And he was very talkative and he was very sweet. And so, and I don't know how St. Patrick's Day came up, but he was like, "My dad found a 4-leaf clover," and he said, "Yep, it was my first one ever." And I had a moment with him because I said on the podcast, "I've been wanting to find a 4-leaf clover forever," and he's like, "Yeah, this is literally my first one." And then I felt kind of like a loser because I shouldn't say loser, but I was like, the odds of finding one are 1 in 10,000. And I realized it wasn't the most conversational thing to say because he didn't really know how to respond to that other than, "Oh, is it?" Like, "Oh, really?" So that was very funny. The funny thing that happened was, kind of to me and to his kids collectively, he said, "And I found my first 4-leaf clover, and we just caught our first leprechaun, didn't we, boys?" And like, "Yeah, we caught him." And so Dad helped them catch a leprechaun, and I had that same experience as a kid where I think we tried to catch a leprechaun as a kid. I don't know that we ever did, but I shared that story, and I walked away and I was smiling, thinking, "Oh, that's so cute," the dad and the kids finding a leprechaun together. And then my mind went to, what if that nice man has a little person tied up in his garage right now? And he was not joking at all. And I'm sitting there like, "Oh, that's so cute. You guys caught your leprechaun." And he's really a psychopath little person killer. Like, what do we do with that?
I don't know. I got nothing.
Fingers crossed that's not the case, I guess is what we're saying. All right, should we get into quiz time?
I think so.
All right, here we go. Let's hit it.
It's time to take a quiz or two. Like a Genius podcast doing this for you. You may fail, but it ain't no lie. Baby, it's quiz time. Don't really want this quiz to be tough. I just want to pass one cause I failed enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie. Baby, it's quiz time.
When you were talking about having a little person tied up in their basement or something, I just wanted to make a Pulp Fiction reference.
Yes. It all ties back, right?
It does.
The Gimp is that character is referred to as, yes. So maybe he's a Tarantino fan and he unfortunately learned a thing or two. All right. So is Pulp Fiction one of the Tarantino movies you have seen?
It is, yeah.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Well, you are going to get us started with Guy Ritchie, and then we're going to jump into Tarantino. So let's, I guess we'll just jump right in.
Yeah, I figured we'd start with an easy one.
Let's see. Oh.
Where is Guy Ritchie from?
Oh.
Scotland, Canada, England, or the U.S.?
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know very much about Guy Ritchie, but I am pretty sure he's Scottish. I can picture him speaking and having a Scottish accent. I mean, yeah, I don't. He probably maybe he lives in USA now, or maybe he's English. Gosh, is he English? Wait, maybe he's English. Oh my gosh. Um, wow. England is probably the obvious choice. But because oh man, dang it, John, I just screwed myself so bad. I got to choose Scotland because I came in so strong about Scotland that I'm gonna regret it if it's right and I don't choose it. So I'm choosing Scotland. He's English.
It is England.
Oh my god. I saw Scotland and I didn't see England, so I was like, okay, it's obviously Scotland. And then all right.
No, and I mean it's not even. I almost put UK, but technically it's England. Like because
Okay.
I wrote Scotland and I'm like UK, and then I'm like no, Scotland is a part of UK.
Yeah.
He was born in Hatfield, Hertfordshire, England.
Oh yeah, that's very English.
It is.
If you just
I
said
mean,
Hatfield, Hertfordshire or whatever, I would have
Hertfordshire.
gotten Hertfordshire.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's got his parents had split and then remarried. His dad married a baroness, and his mom married a baronet.
What is it? I don't know what a baroness and a baronet is, other than no, I don't know.
Barons. They're barons. Like they're nobles.
Like
sir and lady. Yeah.
oh my gosh, yes. Oh, so they're legit.
Yeah.
Aristocratic title.
Yeah.
Wow. In various
so.
European countries. Oh my gosh. Oh wait, so who was a baron and baroness in his family?
His step parents.
His step parents.
Both of his parents remarried and married into.
Oh, they married up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Wow. So he's got he doesn't really have royal blood per se or whatever.
No. Well, and like his stepmother has what's called a life peerage, not a hereditary peerage. Like hereditary would be like, the Queen and then, Prince Charles and Prince William and so on.
Yes. Yes.
A life peer is just for that that person's life.
Oh.
So it doesn't get passed on.
Got it. I see. That seems a little more logical. I mean, no knock on the British royal family, but it's like they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice in the matter. And what if they're a complete a-hole and they get born into the, okay. Very interesting. Wow. So he's next in line to be king of England is what you're saying.
No. Nowhere near that.
I'm a good learner. All right. Do you have more for us on Guy Ritchie's Royal
that's all
Highness,
I got for now.
On our Royal Highness Guy Ritchie? All right. I'm going to jump into number 1 on Quentin Tarantino, and it's about his films. How many films has Quentin Tarantino directed? And I'll tell you, I'm not doing anything fishy here. This isn't like including like college projects or what, not even college, this is major feature films. How many has Quentin Tarantino directed? 8, 9, 10, or 11?
I believe it's 11 because I think he said that he's going to do 13 and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's only a few away. And I'm honestly kind of scared of the fact that he wants to do a Star Trek movie. I don't.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
But I believe the answer is 11 now.
That's your final choice?
Yeah.
That is incorrect. It's 10. It is 10. You are sort of right on what you're saying. Yeah, there is some talks about a Star Trek, but he also has a ton of like project kind of in the works. So who knows what'll happen. The correct answer is 10. He has done 10 movies. Now you were right about how he has a limit, but the limit, he says he's going to retire after his 10th movie. So if you're like me, you're saying, well, wait, so he's already done 10. Here's Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Kill Bill Volume 1, Kill Bill Volume 2, Death Proof, Inglourious Bastards, Django Unchained, The Hateful Eight, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was counting on my fingers that whole time, and I came up with 10. Those are his 10 movies. Tarantino considers Kill Bill 1 and 2 to be one film together. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are separate films. They were released 1 year apart from each other. They had separate box office numbers. They had separate nominations, but he considers that to be his
One story.
Yeah, one story. So he's done 9. So according to him, he wants to retire at 10. So he wants to do one more because he feels that directors wane off towards the end of their career, and he doesn't want to end his career on a horrible movie. So that is his plan. We'll see if he sticks to it. Yeah, there was a Star Trek movie in the works. I think there was a Kill Bill 3 like that's being worked on, but I don't think I get the feeling neither of those will be his 10th movie. I
No.
think it'll be something more unique. So we'll see. But yeah, 10 under his belt so far.
And I've seen the majority of those, I think, actually. No,
So as I
they
listed them
named
off, you're like,
yeah.
yeah, cool.
There's a few that I haven't, but
The only one I have not seen now is Death Proof, which was part of the Robert Rodriguez.
Roadhouse. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And so this is he did Tarantino did a guest director scene for the other Roadhouse movie that I can't think Grindhouse. Grindhouse.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, Death Proof I hadn't seen, and not until I put this quiz together did I realize that was a Tarantino movie. So the only two I hadn't seen as of 24 hours ago were Jackie Brown and Death Proof. I watched Jackie Brown last night, so now I'm 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've seen Jackie Brown or not. I feel like I have. But I think I think Grindhouse was better than Death Proof.
Yeah, that's I kind of thought that might be the case. I'll have to watch both. Just they're not my typical kind of movie like the Robert Rodriguez. I think visually is very stunning, but I've never been that into his movies.
He's very versatile too.
Uh.
I mean, the fact that he did Spy Kids.
Oh, that's right. He did Spy Kids. Yeah, that's very different than these.
Yeah, like it's yeah.
Yeah.
But
all right, cool. Well, yeah. So there you go. I'll get more into some of these movies as we go on, but there you go. 10 movies under his belt.
what was Guy Ritchie's first film?
Yes. Okay.
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Aladdin, or The Gentleman?
Now, am I allowed to ask you whether all of these are actually Guy Ritchie films?
They are all Guy Ritchie films.
Okay, because this is like when you said Lock, Stock, and Two. When you said Guy Ritchie, that style of movie is what came to mind. So I'm glad that I was at least in the wheelhouse. I know Aladdin wasn't his first because that was only a few years ago. The Gentleman, I don't think I'm even familiar with, which might mean that it's his first film. And I don't know between Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels which came out first. My memory tells me, that they're both like late 90s movies, maybe early 2000s, but that I could be wrong on that. I am going to choose Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels only because that's the film I have the most familiarity with, and I don't have much other logic, so that's what I'm going with. Yeah,
Correct.
Kevin!
Yep. Yeah, it's Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. That was his first film. That came out in 98.
Okay.
And then Snatch came out in 2000.
Okay, so I was right. Yeah. For some reason, that late high school time for me, the imagery sticks with me. But I never saw those movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I should say that it's his first feature-length film.
Yeah, same with Tarantino. He had other projects, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He's the one that made Jason Statham a known person.
Yes.
Along with Vinnie Jones, which you may not know that name, but if you see a picture of him, you're like, oh, that's him. He was a footballer. He's the one that's like bashing the guy's head with the door.
Oh yeah,
from
totally.
the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, you there's literally no way to describe how you would know this guy, but yeah, if you Google his face, you're like,
you know
oh,
him.
yeah, that guy.
Yeah. But yeah, Jason Statham got big because of Guy Ritchie. And so, yeah, and then, Snatch came out, like I said, 2 years later, and that's kind of what really put Guy Ritchie out on the map in the U.S. Like, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels did really good in England, in the UK, and it did pretty well here in the U.S. from what it looked like, but Snatch with, Brad Pitt and, Jason Statham and, just a bunch of big names, If you got Brad Pitt in a movie, then it's probably going to do well.
Yeah. Yep.
Even if you can't understand Brad Pitt.
Does he have like a thick Scottish accent in it?
No, he's got a pikey accent.
Oh, got it.
Which, at least on the DVD, I don't know if if you buy it on iTunes or not. It has a subtitle specifically for when he's talking, so that way you can understand them.
Yeah, I was gonna say put the subtitles on, but that's hilarious. Yeah. That's amazing that for Brad Pitt too, that he doesn't even have that accent, but he was able to do it so well that he couldn't be understood.
Yeah.
By the way, Vinnie Jones, the most recognizable role that I'm seeing him in, he was the Juggernaut in the X-Men movies. He literally played the Juggernaut.
That's right.
And
I forgot about that.
Humongous in it. That's where I knew his face from right away. I was like, oh.
Well, I think he was in Eurotrip.
Funny. That's totally
like he's the one in the pub that like is really intimidating.
He's like an intimidating dude in a pub.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should watch Eurotrip sometime. It's a decent, fun movie.
Okay. All right. Fine. I'm in.
It's kind of like our generation's like National Lampoons in a way.
Okay. Yeah. I've somehow managed to never see that.
Yeah, it came out while we were in college.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But yeah. So, and then The Gentleman came out in the last year or so. It has Matthew McConaughey in it, and it went back to his roots of British crime gangs and stuff.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Yes,
yeah,
I remember seeing that.
It's got Charlie Hunnam in it, and it's a fantastically funny movie. It's an action movie, but it's got that humor in it as well, and Matthew McConaughey is pretty good in it. So,
all right, good to know, man. I got some catching up to do in terms of Guy Ritchie films.
Well, and actually, there's one that just came out on Friday that I didn't even know about until I was doing stuff. So I have some catching up to do too. It is called Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's got Jason Statham, Aubrey Plaza, Josh Hartnett, Carrie Ellis, Bugsy Malone, Hugh Grant, like
nice.
All actors and actresses that I enjoy watching. And it just came out on Friday, so I'm gonna have to go see where I can watch that legally.
Yes, good for you. Get your money, spend your money and give it to support. You get what I'm saying. Support. Bugsy Malone.
Support the people you enjoy watching.
Support the people is a British rapper and actor. Do you know the British rapper Stormzy by chance? I see that he's connected with him, like they collaborate together.
No.
One of my jobs, I play a lot of British rap. Stormzy is a great British. If you've never listened to British rap, I would suggest starting with Stormzy, spelled with a Z, Stormzy. And then Aubrey Plaza's in this new movie. I have the biggest crush on Aubrey Plaza. I would love to marry her someday. So just gonna put that out there. All right, we're ready for.
And you know who Carrie Ellis is?
Carrie Ellis.
Carrie Ellis.
Carrie Ellis.
Ellis. As you wish, Princess Bride.
Oh yeah. He, you know what I know him from is Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Tights.
Yeah.
That's every time I see him and he was in the Saw movies. He was the main guy in Saw. Yes, but the first case instantly it's Robin Hood Men in Tights. That's what he will forever be known for in my head. Okay, I'll see the movie, John. You twisted my arm. I'll see it. All right. You are 0 for 1 to start in Tarantino. I'm 1 for 2 with Guy Ritchie. Let's see how you do in number 2 with Tarantino. What is Tarantino's highest grossing box office film? So just in the box office. Is it Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill Volume 1, Django Unchained, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I don't think it's Pulp Fiction. Even though it had big names in it. That's towards the beginning of his career. And I think it's more of a cult hit than anything now. But I know Kill Bill was huge. Django Unchained was huge. And, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was pretty big, but I don't think it was as big as the previous two. But I think I'm going to go with Kill Bill Volume 1.
Kill Bill is what you're going to go with?
Yep.
All right, John. Kill Bill is incorrect. Django Unchained. number one. Yeah, this was a little bit of a tough question because all of these were pretty high up in his. So the top five Tarantino movies. Number one, Django Unchained, 449 million. Then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is number two. Inglorious Bastards, number three. Pulp Fiction, number four. Kill Bill Volume 1, number five. Yeah, Pulp Fiction, I think I would have agreed with you that it was more of a cult, but when I look at 212 million in the box
Right.
office from 95 or 94 when that came out, that's pretty freaking good. So,
Yeah.
I think in a weird way it was a huge box office hit, but also then somehow
Disappeared and then came back.
yeah, disappeared and then came back. Like
Yeah.
young people who didn't see it in the mid 90s saw it as once they got old enough or whatever. And,
Right.
so yeah, I think you're kind of right in that regard. But yeah, Django Unchained is his highest grossing film to date.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do love that movie. The fascinating thing about Tarantino movies to me is kind of like we talked about at the top, where
Mhm.
they're pretty polarizing. You know, I came across several just opinion lists of like the best Tarantino movies ever, and some would have Django Unchained listed as number one, and some would have Django Unchained listed as number 10 as the worst of the Tarantino
Right.
movies. So it's so objective, and
Mhm.
there's just I think that's to me that's kind of amazing that you can have that far polarity. But if nothing else, Tarantino is always consistent in what he brings. So
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I think movies in general are polarizing. Like, there's been a huge thing I saw lately about, should comic book movies even be allowed for like Best Picture and for the Oscars and stuff?
Yeah,
I would argue they should be. I don't
I
see why
I
they
totally agree.
can't be. But
It's sort of like looking at what is the definition of a film.
right,
I think the reason superhero movies don't get put in is because they're popcorn movies, they're entertaining movies. But aren't films' purpose to entertain? Isn't that one of their big purposes
yeah,
to entertain?
Mhm.
And man, some of these Marvel movies are some of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like it's
Like
just like
I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but the new Batman is supposed
oh,
to
I haven't
be
either.
really, really good. Like,
Yeah.
and so like it's not you know a popcorn movie like the Marvel movies are. It's dark and like a noir and like
Well,
kind
like
of
the
a
Joker.
yeah.
It's almost like the only way to get that recognition is to make it a totally different kind of
It has to be
film.
serious.
Yeah, exactly. Which I
Which
don't. Yeah, I don't like that.
yeah,
I also don't even like the idea of making a category of like superhero movies or whatever
yeah,
comedy and music. Like it's like well let's recognize it as a film, which is what it is.
yeah.
But yeah,
And
I
I
agree.
also saw. I mean, since we're talking about awards, I also saw that there's some. There's always been a separate event for the Oscars for like the people that work behind the scenes and
Oh yeah.
stuff.
Hmm.
And I saw like there's some big names, I don't remember who, that are refusing to go to the Oscars unless that all gets combined into like one thing.
Wow.
Which
Wow. Wow.
I
Wow.
think it should be. Like it shouldn't be
Yeah,
a separate thing because, without those people you're not gonna have the
I
movies. Like
know.
it's
Yeah. And then the flip side to the coin of that is people's attention spans are so short. You want people to watch the Oscars,
right.
and more awards equals, more time that's going to run. And so I get both sides of that. Because I
Yeah.
completely agree with what you said. Like that, the behind the scene, when I watch the credits, I'm like, man, these people, I don't know any of them. And this is the most recognition they'll probably ever get. But this
Yeah.
is, they had a pivotal role in these films. It wouldn't happen without them. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, so you're now 0 for 2. I'm 1 for
Yep.
2. Number 3 on Guy Ritchie, right?
Yeah. I mean, unlike Tarantino, I don't know if Guy Ritchie has a set number of movies that he's gonna make.
Uh-huh.
But so far, counting the one that just came out on Friday, there are 13 movies. He is currently working on a 14th.
Cool.
And I mentioned that Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels was kind of the first movie that Jason Statham was ever in, and made him be the big star he is today. Of Guy Ritchie's 13 movies, how many of them has Jason Statham been in?
Wow.
8, 3, 5, or 2?
Oh boy, yeah. I'm glad I didn't ask a question earlier that maybe would have spoiled this. Here's how I don't know if it's that I'm a bad listener, that I have a bad memory, or both. I think it's both. I can't even remember if you said that Jason Statham is going to be in this new movie. You just said it like 4 minutes ago. I'm pretty sure you said he is not going to be. I don't think you said his name. The question, don't answer this for me because it'll give me too much of a hint. But my question was I believe the Crank movies. I think that's what they're called. Whether those were Guy Ritchie movies or
They're
not.
not.
Okay, all right. Because
But they are fun movies to watch.
Those probably exist at least as Jason Statham as the lead because of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah.
Because they, opened the door for him. 13 movies. How many with Jason Statham? See, I'm not going to choose 8. That's the high one. I'm tempted to choose 5. It probably is what I'm going to pick because I think probably popular consensus is he's been in a lot of them. But that also makes me wonder if that is the popular consensus, if it's surprising that it's actually only 2, I guess I'm going to quote unquote play it safe though and say that he's been in 5. Jason Statham has been in 5 of the 13 Guy Ritchie movies. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Correct.
All right.
He was obviously in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He played one of the main characters in Snatch. He was in the movie Revolver.
Oh,
Which also had Ray Liotta, Vincent Pastore, and Andre Benjamin.
okay. Oh, Andre Benjamin.
And
From
yeah,
Outcast.
that one didn't
Andre
do
3000?
too well. It was a very kind of almost intellectual movie, but I thought it was a fun movie. And then he was in a movie called Wrath of Man that came out last year, which is one of the ones I haven't seen yet. Which is evidently based off of a 2004 French film. And then he was in the movie that just came out, Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre.
Oh, so he is in that one, and I
Yep.
wasn't listening.
Yeah.
I wasn't listening / didn't remember. To be honest, it's that I'm bad at listening. I will admit that, and I'm bad at paying attention to details. And I got stuck on Aubrey Plaza, and then on Bugsy, what's his name? Hey, doggies.
So he went from using Statham all the time to there was like a 13 or 14 year period where he didn't, and now he's using him all the time.
Well, it's not the next question. That would have been really great if I did, but I have a question somewhat similar about the actors used for Tarantino. But are you ready to move on to number 3 regardless?
Yeah.
All right. I'm 2 for 3. You're 0 for 2. Let's see if you can get this one right. It's a true or false. True or false? I believe we've talked about this in some form before. Maybe I'm wrong. Quentin Tarantino graduated from the same high school as Kevin, me being Kevin. Quentin Tarantino graduated from the same high school as me. Is that true or false?
I feel like that's true.
Do you recall?
I may have to go back like 39 episodes to.
Yeah, that's right. This is episode 40, by the way, which is amazing. Yeah. And you're referencing the first episode where we literally quizzed each other on each other. That may have been when it came up.
Or when we were doing our hometowns.
Yeah, I was wondering if it came up last week at all, if I said anything about this. But okay, so again, the question being, Quentin Tarantino graduated from the same high school as Kevin. Is that true or is that false?
I'm just going to go with true.
You locking it in?
Yep.
That is incorrect. It was a little bit tricky because Quentin Tarantino did not graduate from the same high school. He dropped out. It was kind of like the die question last week. It was one word that changed it. He did go to Narbonne High School, which is my alma mater. He dropped out when he was 15, though. Go ahead.
Which is interesting because Guy Ritchie says he got kicked out of school at 15.
Wow, how funny!
Like what the reason he got kicked out is different than what his dad says he got kicked out for.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a certain as you're looking for that, I would never encourage somebody to drop out of school. Never. That is not what I'm saying. But
right.
when you look in hindsight at someone like Tarantino or Guy Ritchie, there is a certain element of they probably they didn't really need it. They clearly were a success without it, and B their mind just wasn't. Their minds were developed in a different way. I'm not saying better or worse, right. Just on a different level to where school didn't make sense to them, and maybe it was better that they got out when they did.
Yeah, he was expelled at 15. He
Wow.
claimed that it was because of drug use.
Okay.
His dad says it was because he was cutting class and entertaining a girl in his room.
Oh, interesting. And it was probably both. It was probably all of the above.
Probably.
Yeah, Tarantino didn't get kicked out. He was born. Oh shoot, I already forgot where he was born. I should look it up just to make. I believe it was Tennessee. Um, but let's see, Knoxville, Tennessee. But they moved to the South Bay, this is part of the reason I have an affinity to Quentin Tarantino, because he
Mhm.
not only grew up, spent the majority of his upbringing in the South Bay, which is kind of a lesser known area of LA in general. I mean, I'm talking Torrance, Carson, and then bleeding into Inglewood. And a lot of his movies then take place in these areas. So Jackie Brown, for example, which I just finally watched last night, the entire thing takes place where I grew up. The city of Carson is a couple cities over from me, and there's a major scene, and that's where, sorry, city of Carson is where there's a bail bonds place that is
Mhm.
in that movie a whole bunch. Probably the most, I guess, exciting, the most fun part of that movie is a sequence of scenes that take place at Del Amo Mall in Torrance, which is the mall I grew up going to with my best friend Danny. This is what we did in high school. We would get dropped off at the mall and just walk around there, and it was actually really amazing to watch this movie, because that mall, Del Amo Mall, looks nothing like that anymore. In fact, at
Right.
the time, it was the largest outdoor mall, the largest indoor mall in America, and so it was already really renowned. But they've since expanded and made it it's a beautiful mall now. I mean, it still is, but walking around, it made me feel like I was in high school, walking around with Danny, going into the Gap, and like I wouldn't
Right.
buy anything, but yeah, I really love that his films take place in the neighborhood that I grew up, so I have to admit that
Mhm.
bias a bit.
I get
But
that.
yeah, there you go. So, Tarantino and I both made it to our sophomore year in high school, but then I earned a diploma. All right,
So,
number
Guy Ritchie,
4.
true or
Yes.
false? He has a black belt in judo.
Okay, true or false? I'm laughing just because that's so random. Now, my instant instinct is say true. That sounds so badass. Yep, gonna choose it. But I'm wondering if it's similar to my question, where it's just there's one word that's different. For example, he has a black belt in something else, karate, or he has some other color belt in judo. But I don't think that's the case. I'm gonna go out on a limb and choose false and say that he has a black belt in something else. So I'm choosing false.
I mean,
Over.
you are correct in that he does have a black belt in something else, but
Okay.
he also has
Also,
a black belt in judo.
wow. So he's quite well equipped.
Yeah, he has a black belt in both Shotokan karate as well as judo. Like he started training at the age of 7
Wow.
in London. And then he also has a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Amazing.
And he's also said that he can speak Hebrew as well.
He's a very intelligent guy, and I have zero experience with any of the martial arts,
Mhm.
but I know that it takes a lot of mental intelligence and mental strength. And so to hear that this guy has black belts, multiple black belts, speaks Hebrew, and creates these fantastic movies, I mean, that is, to me, you talk about geniuses and brilliance, like
Right.
that's all the resume I need right there. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, it's possible that his being able to speak Hebrew is from when he was married to Madonna
Oh, no
uh,
way. Uh-huh.
back in the early 2000s, because she was, I don't know if she still is, but she was part of the offshoot of Judaism. I forget what
Yeah.
it was called, but
So,
um,
are you saying
may
Madonna was in line to be the Queen of England at some point when they were married?
no,
Is that
no. Guy Ritchie doesn't even have a peerage. He's just a common person that his parents happen to marry people.
If you take nothing else away from this podcast, just know that Guy Ritchie and Madonna could have been the King and Queen of England at one point. So, anything else you got, John?
That's it.
True or false? Okay, all right. So okay, so I think I'm 2 for 4 now, and you're 0 for 3. So you
Yeah.
gotta do some work here. Number 4 on Quentin Tarantino. How many Oscars has Quentin Tarantino won? 2, 4, 6, or 8? And again, this is Tarantino himself. This does not include if any of his actors won or it's that Tarantino won them himself. Has he won 2, 4, 6, or 8 Oscars?
I'm just gonna go with 2.
Locking it in, not going to overthink it.
Yep.
That is correct. Yay! His 2 Oscar wins are for Pulp Fiction, Best Original Screenplay, and Django Unchained, Best Original Screenplay. He's been nominated for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He technically has 8 nominations, but 3 of his films were nominated for Best Picture: Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Bastards, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, all nominated for Best Picture. But Pulp Fiction and Inglourious Bastards, he technically was not listed as a producer, so they're not listed under his credits of nominations. He didn't win them anyways, but yeah, he does have um, 2 Best Original Screenplays for Pulp Fiction and Django Unchained, which I think are well earned. And I think in this day and age, it's so rare to see original screenplays that are that good. Once Upon a
Hmm.
Time in Hollywood was nominated and didn't win. I don't know what did, but man, I loved that movie. I would have loved to see him win. But yeah, he's never won for Best Director, which I guess isn't crazy surprising considering the polarization and all. But we'll see what he has in his future, I guess. But yeah, you got that right. 2 Oscars.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Guy Ritchie has won any Oscars, but he's certainly won some BAFTAs,
Oh yeah.
which are the British um, version of the Oscar, essentially. Um, and those were for some of his earlier movies. Um, but he does actually cite Quentin Tarantino as influence on his work.
Oh.
But he then also stated that just about every film, any good film that's ever been made, has had an influence on him. But then how much of it, I have no idea, he says.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and what a tricky thing. In fact, Jeff McAvoy, the creator of our logo, he and I had a conversation once about.
mhm.
In fact, there's a book. I think it's called "Steal Like an Artist," but I've probably even mentioned this on the podcast before. But the idea that there really aren't any new ideas. It's everything is sort of a remake of some basic idea.
Right.
In movies, it might be hero's journey or guy falls for girl,
Right.
whatever. Um, but you're basically retelling the same stories over and over again. It's just that you're doing it in a unique way. So we're always it's like okay to be inspired by past
Hmm.
work, to be influenced by. That's not a bad thing. In fact, that's
Right.
highly encouraged because that's how you grow the art. So that's cool to hear. I think that quote
Yeah.
that you shared very much sums that
Yeah.
up.
I mean, and some of the movies that he references is the good, the bad, and the ugly, Seven Samurai, Once Upon a Time in the West.
Okay, nice. Yeah, yeah.
So
Wow, very nice. Very
yeah.
nice. All right. Well, you stayed alive with getting that one right. You're 1 for
Hmm.
4. I'm 2 for 4 going into number 5. I have to miss this to
Yeah.
for you to try to force a tie.
Yeah. So I mentioned how he was married to Madonna for a time,
Mm-hmm.
and during that time, he made some movies. What movie starred his then wife, Madonna?
Wow.
Rock and Rolla, Swept Away, Wrath of Man, or Revolver?
Oh, so when I saw these choices, when I saw the question, and as I was looking at the choices, I was like, okay, I don't know this, but I bet you I'm going to know once I see it. I don't. I don't know it. I have no clue what it is. I don't think I'm. I remember Revolver. I don't think I'm familiar with any of these other movies. Rock and Rolla, Swept Away, Wrath of Man, Revolver. And my familiarity with Revolver is really just that I know it's a movie.
Right.
I can't picture it, so I don't know if Madonna's in it. So my dartboard throw. I mean, if it starred Madonna, there's a chance. I mean, I hate to, minimize a woman star being in this way, but like, there's probably some kind of love aspect. That's why I'm leaning towards Swept Away, but I could be way off on that. I'm gonna choose Swept Away, lock it in, see what happens. Oh, I got it.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, outside of you know the his last two movies that have come out last year and this year, um, and I've kind of seen Aladdin. That's the only movie of his that I have not seen. Is Swept
Oh,
Away.
wow. Wow. Is are you not really interested in seeing it? Like,
Um, Not really. I mean, and it's. I mean, I suppose it was nominated for the Golden Raspberry Award
oh, no way.
for worst screenplay
I was gonna say that's like a
and
bad
worst
award
director.
to get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, so
Yeah,
there's that.
it doesn't make it jump out at you as a film you want to go
Nah.
and watch when you have an option. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and as good of a musician as Madonna is, I don't think she's that great of an actress from what I've heard. So,
Hmm. I'm not. I've never been a big fan of Madonna's, and I don't really have a solid reason why. I'm realizing as I grow older, and so I to give credit where credit's due. Like I think the only movie I've seen her in is A League of Their Own, and she's actually pretty fantastic in it. I think
right.
she plays that character so well, and so I don't know. Maybe it's just because I
Yeah.
other than I think I kind of like the song Ray of Light, but other than that, I don't think I like any Madonna songs. It's not that I hate them. It's not like it's nails on a chalkboard, but I'm not a
All
fan.
right. Yeah.
But that's the only role I've seen her in, so I can't really attest to anything else.
Yeah.
Uh, Gosh, there was something else you said that made me think of something. What was it? Oh, the same way that Swept Away is one of the only movies by Guy Ritchie you hadn't seen. That was Jackie Brown for me, and I know I've already talked about that.
Hmm.
I for the longest time didn't really have much of an interest because I hadn't heard much about it. You hear so
Right.
much about, Pulp Fiction and Inglorious Bastards, and so it's like, oh, I have to see these. Um, Jackie Brown, I'd always heard the same thing about it that oh, it's good, yeah, it's okay, it's his movie, and that's sort of my take on it.
Hmm.
It's a really good film. It's really good, but it's not as, like, flashy as his other films, and I think
Right.
that's why it doesn't get as strong of a reputation, but if you've liked every other Tarantino film, you're definitely gonna like Jackie Brown if that's the one on your list that you haven't seen yet, so I'd highly recommend it.
Cool.
Um, I'm trying to think. I know I'm asking myself this question. I'll ask you while I'm thinking about it.
Hmm.
What's your favorite Guy Ritchie movie?
Oh,
I know, it's hard to pick, right?
yeah. I
Putting you on the
mean,
spot. 'Cause I'm thinking about that for Tarantino, what my favorite is, and that's a hard one for me to pick.
yeah. I mean, Snatch is always up there because
Mm,
Snatch was kind of the first one that got me into the Guy Ritchie movies.
mhm.
Um, I mean, there's Snatch. I I've always been a big fan of Sherlock Holmes in any
Oh,
iteration, and so I mean those are fun movies. I
nice.
liked the King Arthur movie, which evidently like that was supposed to be like the first of 6 films,
Oh, is it still
but then
going to
it
be?
no they yeah they it
Oh,
evidently didn't do well enough, and I forget which studio that it was a part of decided to cancel the rest of that franchise.
I remember we talked about that once
Yeah.
before, yeah.
The Gentleman is is really good too. So it
Yeah. It's like pick a day and ask me
right.
that question, it's gonna change day to day.
Yeah.
I think that's how I am with Tarantino. Like, I think if I had to pick a one and only, it would probably be Kill Bill Volume 1, and that's a little more of a nostalgia factor because I was
Hmm.
in, like, my freshman year of college, and I remember watching that with my best friends and just being so I think the imagery in that is probably the strongest of any of his movies, and so it was very much in my wheelhouse at that time. But like you, I'm looking at this list, I'm like, "Oh, Django Unchained was so good." I even like The Hateful Eight, which doesn't get a lot of
Right.
attention. That movie just really was like, "Whoa." Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, amazing. It's like it's so hard to pick, which
Yeah.
is why we're doing this quiz because we're
Yeah.
such big fans.
Well, I mean, and Guy Ritchie's movies are, yeah, there's usually a lot of action, but not necessarily like violent action per se. But it might
Interesting.
be, like there's running or like a chase or something
Chase.
like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but the stories are different enough as well. Like, Snatch is all about like a diamond heist that
Oh yeah,
happens.
yeah.
I mean, and there's a dog, and which is really funny. What happens with the dog? Um,
As long as it's not like what's that movie with Keanu Reeves? Um,
No, John Wick.
Yeah, as long as it's not like
No,
John
no,
Wick.
the dog is fine. It's just they end up having to walk around the dog for quite a bit
Okay, okay.
and check out the poop.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, I think I follow your vibe.
Yeah. Um, but like, you know, Sherlock Holmes, those are mysteries. The
Yep.
Man from Uncle is a spy movie. King Arthur's a mythology. It's he's got that British crime, with Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Revolver, The Gentleman, but which he's really good at those, but he's also good at other things as well. And so it's each movie is different enough to where depending on what you're wanting, you could say whichever one is your favorite at that point, kind of like you said.
Yeah, yeah, and versatility. I think is a huge pro for a director to have. So it sounds
Yeah.
like he definitely has that. Okay, well, we are gonna wrap up the quizzes. I already won the episode, but let's see how you do on the last question, which is number 5 on Quentin Tarantino. Which actor has appeared in the most Quentin Tarantino films? Is it Leonardo DiCaprio, Harvey Keitel, Samuel L. Jackson, Michael Madsen?
Am I allowed to look up names to put them with faces?
Yeah, you can. Is
Okay.
it? I'm guessing
It's
it's Harvey Keitel and or Michael Madsen.
Yeah, I know the name Harvey Keitel. I
Yeah.
can't think of the face, and Michael Madsen I've not heard of.
Yeah, so Harvey Keitel, as you're looking him up, most famous role in Pulp is probably Pulp Fiction, where he was the wolf. He was the guy who
Okay.
went and cleaned up the spoiler alert, but the guy who gets his brains blown out in the back seat
Right.
of the car. And Michael Madsen, you would know him from if you've seen Reservoir Dogs. He's the guy who, spoiler alert, does the dance and the iconic dance and slices the dude's ear off. I won't say much more because I don't want to spoil whether he's been
Right.
in other movies or not. I don't think Michael Madsen is a household name, but
No.
if you've seen Tarantino movies, you know his face. I think.
I know DiCaprio's been in at least 2. He was in Django Unchained and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't think he was in anything else. Same for Samuel Jackson. I know he's in at least 2, Pulp Fiction and The Hateful Eight. I think it's coming down to actually Harvey Keitel or Michael Madsen, based off of what you've said.
The interesting thing about this, as you're thinking, is technically I'm not going to make this a trick question. Technically, none of these people are the right answer because the correct answer would be Quentin Tarantino himself.
Right.
He's actually appeared in more Quentin Tarantino movies than any other person. But people whose by profession predominantly are actors is what I'm going with
Right.
here.
Not directors of the movies themselves.
Yes, exactly. Uh-huh.
Oh. I'm gonna go with Harvey Keitel. No, Michael Madsen.
Michael Madsen is your choice?
Yep.
Locking it in?
Yep.
You are incorrect. He does have the second most, but you'll be happy to know that Harvey Keitel is not the next most, so you wouldn't have gotten it either way. Samuel L. Jackson took the
Which
crown.
one am I missing? Is he in Jackie?
He's in Jackie Brown. Yep, he's a pretty prominent role in Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. He does make an appearance in Kill Bill 2. He's the piano player if you've seen Kill Bill, at the chapel. This gets a little tricky, but it does. I mean, Harvey Keitel got a credit for the same thing. In Inglourious Bastards, he's the narrator, which I'm not even sure if he narrates the whole thing or if he just narrates a certain part, but his voice is in the movie as a narrator. He is in Django Unchained as he's like the slave. He's Leonardo DiCaprio's like right-hand man I forget the term for it. And he's like such a hated character in that movie. He's in The Hateful Eight, like you said. and he actually didn't get a credit for this, but rumor is, so this doesn't count as one of his 6 movies. In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there's apparently his voice is in it yelling "bad mother effer," which is kind of kind of his tagline. Michael Madsen, who again I know some of you didn't know his name or face, some of you don't. He's been in 5 of his movies. I don't have the list here, but I know he was in Reservoir Dogs and both Kill Bills, and I think Hateful Eight. So yeah, I think of him as he plays Bill's brother in the Kill Bill movies, and I think he does such a great job in that role.
Okay.
So yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is Tarantino's go-to man, and yeah, I appreciate the thought that you put into that, and Michael Madsen was a close second. So I ended up winning that episode. The thought that was going through my head during this is that I think this is a fun sort of category to jump into, and you and I could totally do another episode on this because I was torn between doing Tarantino or Wes Anderson. I have gone in a deep dive of Wes Anderson films, and I think those films are, to me, I was never smart enough to get those as a young man, as like a high schooler and early college person.
Right.
I remember watching some of those movies and being like, I don't get it. I needed like stupid, goofy comedy. Now that I'm a refined 37-year-old man, I watch those movies and I'm just like, these are so freaking clever and brilliant and smart and funny. And I know you were originally going to do
Kevin Smith
movies. So this may be an episode that we revisit down the line. I think we could probably go down the line of fantastic directors in the future as we move forward in our Lack of Genius history together. Yeah. Very nice, John. What else you got for us? Anything?
I think that's it.
Yeah, so we'll return next week. As my dog barks in the background, she's trying to let you know that we are on Patreon. So if you'd like to support us, we really appreciate that. Please follow us on the socials. Any support is huge for us. We're a podcast that's trying to grow. So if there's any ideas that you have that can make us reach another human being, please don't hesitate to do that. We appreciate your support. And John, we're going to catch you next week.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.